So we are entering the last session of the Med Partners Forum. So I would invite the last ones to take your seats, please. Thank you for still being with us. I know that we are the last session before the closure ends the lunchtime, so we'll try to be effective and efficient. And I like to see some faces I know. So, my name is Elodie Nunes. I work for the CPMR Inter-Mediterranean Commission as Executive Secretary. And today I am your moderator for this last session on the multi-level collaboration between actors and regions as a fundamental basis of governance tools and capitalization processes. So we ourselves as organization are also involved in specific projects, specific governance projects, new governance dynamics. And I have with me today also great speakers that are working as well for organizations that we know well in cooperation programs and projects. They are kind of all parts of the Mediterranean family. So it's good to see you. Thank you for accepting to come today with us. And what we'll be addressing more specifically in this session is, from your experiences, you will be telling us a bit programs you've been involved in and how these innovative governance schemes have been serving you in a way, and how you've been also serving yourself as organization into their implementation. So how they've been useful for you in terms of thematic focus on the one hand, but also in terms of governance focus, and what it means to you to have these innovative schemes and be able to exploit them in your daily works. So the first speaker today is Sergio Ponsà, Director of the MedCat Days. And Sergio, well, you will tell us a bit more about the governance project that the Beta Center is involved in, what it means for your organization, and what this approach means also in terms of theme for you. We know that you work sectorally, but also in terms of innovative governance. So the floor is yours. Thank you for being with us.
Well, thank you very much, Elodie. So I'm just taking advantage that we are having a home game today, so I will switch to Catalan. Sure. Yeah, because so, moltes gràcies primer de tot al Departament d'Exteriors i a l'IEMed per convidar-nos, per donar-nos l'oportunitat d'estar aquí amb aquesta taula rodona. Nosaltres, com han comentat els meus companys, fa molts anys que estem involucrats en diferents programes i en diferents projectes de governança. Com s'ha vist avui també, com comenten els companys, cada programa té la seva pròpia arquitectura que respon a uns objectius específics de capitalització i d'estratègies de governança relacionades amb l'àmbit geogràfic i amb l'abast que cada programa vol tenir o pot tenir actualment. I nosaltres, com a centre, fem servir aquest tipus de programes per incrementar el nostre impacte. I és una visió que crec que els centres de recerca, els centres tecnològics, les universitats i les entitats que ens dediquem a treballar amb la ciència i a produir informació basada en evidències, és un aspecte que hauríem de considerar de manera molt seriosa, perquè és una part fonamental per tenir impacte. O sigui, els centres de recerca a universitats actualment no podem només produir impacte a nivell d'articles científics o de recerca o innovació. Fa molts anys que també hem estat treballant per incrementar la part de transferència en relació amb el sector privat. És una fita sòlida, però ara ens queda encara algunes altres fites, com la que comento ara, de com integrem aquesta vessant de governança dintre del ventall d'impactes que les universitats o centres com nosaltres haurien de tenir. I la raó és molt clara, i és que la recerca i innovació per se no tenen impactes, no tenim polítiques i estratègies que permetin incrementar el seu impacte a nivell geogràfic, però també que promoguin i que no suposin barreres a l'aplicació d'aquest nou coneixement. Per tant, entitats com la que jo represento ens considerem uns actors que, en principi, som neutrals, no tenim cap conflicte d'interessos, som creïbles perquè treballem en informació basada en evidències i, per tant, som uns actors que, a priori, som els més propers als ideals per promoure aquest tipus d'iniciatives. I aquesta és la raó principal per la qual, des del Centre Beta, l'any 2015, vam decidir crear una àrea, que és la que la Mercè ha presentat abans, que és l'àrea de governança de la sostenibilitat, on la que treballem específicament aquest tipus de tasques. Com agafem els resultats de projectes d'innovació propis o de diferents programes, els transformem, adaptem i som capaços de tenir impacte més enllà del que el propi projecte ha aconseguit tenir. A tots els nivells, a nivell d'empresa, a nivell de mercat, però sobretot a nivell de polítiques a tots els nivells. Nosaltres actualment estem participant i coordinant, tinc que dir coordinant, perquè és una aposta que vam fer nosaltres, que volíem coordinar tots els projectes de governança als quals participem. Actualment estem coordinant, jo diria que projectes a molts programes, a tots els programes que ho permet. Estem coordinant una CSA a l'Horizon Europe en la temàtica de governança del clúster 6. Aquest és un nivell geogràfic a nivell europeu que pretén tenir impacte a nivell de polítiques europees de la IP Agri i de la CAP. Es diu Nutrinou i també és un projecte en aquest sentit que és un projecte pilot per alimentar l'European Farmbook. No sé si us sona, però és un repositori a nivell europeu que permet tenir una disponibilitat a molt llarg termini controlada per la Comissió on aquesta informació està disponible per diferents sectors. Estem també, com han comentat abans els meus companys, coordinant el Med4Waste. El Med4Waste és un projecte del programa ENI que permet capitalitzar resultats de projectes ja acabats en l'àmbit de la gestió de residus orgànics municipals i com incrementar la capacitat d'aquests projectes de tenir impacte a diferents territoris, a diferents regions, generant un policy toolkit, generant un mentoring scheme, generant MOOCs, diferents eines que van molt més enllà que els projectes per ser d'innovació permetien. També fa, des de l'any 2016, que estem coordinant la Community for Innovation, la que abans es coneixia com a Green Growth Community i ara la Community for Innovation de l'Interreg EuroMed. O sigui, aquest programa ens ha permès aprendre moltíssim. Nosaltres no en sabíem tant, tenim la voluntat, però no en sabíem. I un programa pioner com va ser l'Interreg EuroMed ens va permetre pujar-nos en aquest carro i començar a aprendre i a treballar en aquesta direcció. També hi ha altres programes que no els tenim en compte de capitalització i per treballar en la governança a un nivell regional i territorial. Nosaltres som molt defensors d'aquest nivell, perquè és molt difícil canviar les coses si no tenim en compte els actors que tenen els peus al territori, que són els que realment seran els implementadors del canvi. A nivell català, el Departament d'Acció Climàtica va treure fa 2 anys una convocatòria d'activitats demostratives on una de les seves modalitats era capitalització. Igual que he comentat que el projecte d'Horizon Europe pretén capitalitzar resultats mirant cap a Europa, aquest projecte pretén capitalitzar resultats mirant cap a casa nostra. És la mateixa temàtica, són grups operatius de la IP Agri, però volem incrementar l'impacte que aquests grups operatius desenvolupats a Catalunya té a Catalunya. I per altra banda, també existeixen altres programes. Nosaltres tenim la sort de ser un dels 9 paying schemes finançats pel GRC, de la Comissió Europea, que el que pretenen és ficar en contacte centres tecnològics, centres de recerca amb municipalitats o entitats supramunicipals per tal de treballar conjuntament en reptes dels quals aquestes entitats tenen competències. El nostre... Sí.
Disculpeu, si hi ha algun metge a la sala, sé que és un tòpic, però hi ha una persona que necessita un metge. Si hi ha algun metge, som aquí fora.
Hòstia, no sé com he de continuar ara mateix. En qualsevol cas, estava comentant que el paying scheme del GRC és una eina que és molt adient per acabar tenint impacte a nivell municipal i a nivell territorial, que és realment el nivell on es pot tenir un canvi real. El que passa és que també les competències municipals són reduïdes. Com he dit, estem treballant en diferents aspectes, en diferents àmbits i tots ells ens permeten realitzar-nos com a centre, complir la missió que tenim com a centre, que realment és tenir un impacte molt més enllà que l'àmbit de la recerca i l'innovació i realment retornar a la societat la inversió que prèviament s'ha fet en projectes de recerca i en desenvolupament de coneixement. Fins aquí, sí, de moment. Gràcies.
Can I have the microphone? Okay, now it works. Good. Thank you. Thank you, Sergio, for your presentation, your intervention. So some keywords I took note of, obviously the impact of governance. Capitalization has been a great deal over the different programs, territorial cooperation programs, but also other programs. It's becoming more and more important, and we observe, as you rightly say, some kind of convergence for the capitalization, or at least we try as actors of cooperation ourselves to be able to build the bridges between the programs and the different projects. You also mentioned the governance of sustainability, It's also very important, and it's very transversal to all the sectors and all the scale of the multi-level governance. So it's something that we cannot avoid. It's complex, but we do need to work on this together. And I think we have also innovative programs and pioneer programs to do so. And well, I think we're quite happy with let's say, the impetus that they are trying to give to these kinds of dynamics. And we are also happy to be part of it, to be experiencing it. And if I may also talk about what we do ourselves, because you talk about the private sector and you represent the academia in a way, but I represent the regions, and it's true that when you talk about impacts, it's the impact of the research on the one hand, but also impacts of the public policies, and it's also what you mentioned. So we have the same challenge and the same opportunity ourselves in our works with the regions, because we want to be able to retrofeed the impacts of the cooperation within the public policies. So all in all, we're all in the same boat. And I think that by having these opportunities of these alliances and the innovative governance that the programs offer us, we try to use it to the best possible extent to make sure that the funds actually feed back to the policies. So with this in mind, we went through academia. I talked about the regions, but now we're going to the very local level with Oriol Barba, who represents MedCities as the director of MedCities and also a member of the Mediterranean Cooperation Alliance. So Oriol, thank you for being with us today. So as I said, MedCities is closely linked to the local territories. Could you tell us a bit more about what it means for your organization to be involved in this governance project with other kinds of actors from the scale of multi-level governance that come from different horizons, what it means, and what it means also, given your geographical scope, what you cover, what added value you bring to the projects and the programs to be able to reflect on a more Mediterranean vision and not only specific programs, geographical areas, but a broader vision. Would you let us know a bit about this? Thank you.
Sí, parlarem català també. Se'm sent? Sí? Més o menys?
Yeah, I think so.
Per allà al final també? No gaire. No em passes el micro i...
Sí, passa.
Sí?
A la via.
Gràcies. Sí, sí, ara sí.
Yes.
Parlarem català també. Nosaltres, com a xarxa d'ajuntaments de 73 municipis, evidentment no existeix un únic programa que cobreixi totes les àrees territorials. De fet, no existeix cap programa en el qual tots els nostres membres siguin elegibles i, per tant, la nostra missió i la nostra activitat l'hem de desenvolupar a través de la participació en diferents programes que al final el que fan és adquirir una coherència única quan es desenvolupen en el marc d'una xarxa com MedCities. Per tant, la nostra manera de treballar ja de per si pressuposa la integració de programes i la integració d'iniciatives. Nosaltres estem participant en projectes de governança de programes molt diferents, Interreg Euromed, l'IEMed, també Prima o Horizons a través de CSAs. Per tant, aquest treball de governança ja el fem en diferents programes i el propi desenvolupament d'aquests projectes ens porta a buscar les sinergies de manera natural en les iniciatives. A mi m'agradaria destacar 3 idees breument, també perquè anem curts de temps. La primera és la importància de la millora efectiva de les polítiques. Nosaltres estem al nivell potser més proper a la ciutadania, amb el dia a dia de les ciutats, i no podem deixar de preguntar-nos quan estem en aquests projectes això quin retorn directe té per la ciutadania. I el fet que siguin projectes de governança no ens pot servir d'alguna manera d'excusa per dir que aquest no és l'objecte final d'aquests projectes. És veritat que no estem en projectes d'implementació, però sí que els hem d'implementar d'una manera que sigui el més tangible possible de cara als ciutadans i de cara a les polítiques. I això a vegades ens en oblidem una mica i per tant no deixa de ser important implementar aquests projectes amb contacte directe amb les autoritats locals, visitant les ciutats i visitant la realitat d'aquestes ciutats en molts àmbits. Per exemple, us posaré un exemple. Nosaltres estem al projecte Med4Waste que lidera Beta per millor de la gestió de residus a Tunísia Quan tu vas a una ciutat com Mahdia, una ciutat com Monestir, veus la realitat de la recollida de residus i del tractament, no has de deixar de fer-te la pregunta com aquesta acció que estàs fent al Med4Waste tindrà un impacte sobre el dia a dia de la ciutat, perquè l'ha de tenir. Potser no el tindrà a 2 anys vista o a 3 anys vista, però l'ha de tenir. I no perdre aquesta perspectiva per mi és fonamental. La segona idea va vinculada a la demanda de coneixement i no tant a l'oferta. I crec que això és una cosa que hem anat millorant en els anys, perquè abans comptàvem quantes bones pràctiques ficàvem en un banc de bones pràctiques, quants policy papers fèiem, i això no deixa de centrar-se molt en l'oferta del coneixement, perquè l'important no és quantes bones pràctiques poses tu en un banc, sinó quantes se'n llegeixen i quantes això es transformen realment amb canvis en polítiques. Això s'ha tendit a no fer, i per mi s'ha tendit a no fer perquè la transferència de coneixement i la transformació en polítiques és una cosa que és molt complexa. I per tant, si estem destinant 1 milió d'euros a transferir 5 polítiques de manera efectiva i amb transformacions legislatives en 8 llocs, algú podria dir, ostres, 5 pràctiques i 8 polítiques, us heu gastat 1 milió d'euros per fer això. En canvi, si tu has dit que has fet un banc de pràctiques amb 120 bones pràctiques, sembla com que quedi millor. Però no hem de caure en aquest error, perquè la transferència de coneixement i el canvi de polítiques són processos molt complexos i que necessiten cervells que pensin i necessiten molts recursos perquè això passin. Per tant, jo crec que en la nova programació, on han estat les companyes abans parlant dels nous projectes de governança, ja focalitza molt més en això i que és molt important entendre les autoritats locals i regionals quins canvis volen implementar i a partir dels canvis que volen implementar poder-los oferir solucions que ajudin a aquests canvis. Perquè si ho fem al revés, al final sembla com si les entitats que ens dediquem a aquest tipus de projectes visquem perquè a algú els interessi el que nosaltres fem. I això no ha de ser així, ha de ser al revés. Hem d'estar nosaltres al servei dels canvis de polítiques. Tercer aspecte i últim, jo crec, i aquí parlaré una mica també de l'ecosistema català, jo crec que en els darrers anys hem millorat substantivament a l'hora de crear aliances per a la transformació de polítiques. M'explico. Aquesta taula, fa 5 o 7 anys, hi hagués hagut la CRPM segurament, hi hagués hagut les euroregions, potser hi hagués hagut MedWaves i probablement hi hagués hagut MedCities. Però la introducció dels centres de recerca i la seva aposta per participar en els processos de governança, això és definitiu perquè aquests processos tinguin una complementarietat d'actors important. I això ho està fent el BETA molt bé, ho està fent el CREAF molt bé, ho està fent l'Institut de Ciències del Mar, per exemple, liderant molts projectes Horizon i moltes iniciatives com l'Oceans Decade que tenen un component de governança important. I jo crec que això també és en part gràcies a que les administracions han apostat per posar els actors sobre la taula de manera conjunta. Si puc atrevir-me a posar una mica de deures, crec que encara ens falta ampliar aquestes aliances d'actors, per exemple, amb el sector privat i amb altres tipus d'actors. Però jo crec que estem treballant bé perquè aquestes visions siguin diferents. Què passa? Quan tens actors diferents has de treballar més perquè els punts de partida són més complexos. Però jo crec que estem en un moment positiu en el que són l'articulació d'actors de cara a la governança i sense perdre l'enfocament a la tangibilitat, jo crec que hem d'avançar en aquesta línia per aconseguir canvis en polítiques que siguin efectius, que potser siguin més petits, però que siguin efectius i que siguin tangibles.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Oriol, for this. Rightly, I got from your points the aspects of the efficiency of policies and how we can bring cooperation down to earth, closer to the citizens, because we are here, but I mean, we also have a big city right next to us, and many people have no idea what's going on here. So how do we bring this to them? How do we bring the cooperation, the results to them? The integration of programs, the integration of projects, what you exposed about basically our kinds of organization being these focal points and serving to integrate the different strategies of the programs by implementing them, basically, and by implementing the cooperation projects. And the last point, of course, on, I would say, what is linked to the construction of strategies and programs, that we cannot do it without making sure that they correspond to what's happening on the territory. And for this, we need to be able to involve the territorial actors into the consultation processes and into the building processes, which can be cities, municipalities, they can be regions, they can be the academia, they can be the Euro regions, the private sector, and so on and so forth. So all the actors that you mentioned have me thinking a bit about this quadruple helix dynamics that the clusters usually work with. Not to say quintuple helix with the environmental pillar, but we come back a bit to these kinds of dynamics, and it's true that it's complex, but it's what is becoming necessary if we want to be doing things well and not having to deconstruct them in the future, which is also what we're doing with past decisions. So thank you for this. And that brings me to our next speaker, who is Xavier Bernard-Sans, who is the Secretary General of the Pirinean Mediterranean Euro region, so also representing regions. Xavier, could you tell us a bit more about the way you cooperate with the different programs? You represent a very specific geographical area, so there are different programs also overlapping this area. Could you tell us a bit more how you are part of this interaction and what it means for you in terms of governance?
Merci Elodie. Je parlerai donc en français, comme ça on changera et pour les traducteurs de langue. Donc l'Eurorégion, pour ceux qui ne connaissent pas, ce sont 3 régions, c'était 4 il n'y a pas longtemps, avec la fusion de l'Occitanie, enfin Languedoc et Midi-Pyrénées, qui coopèrent depuis presque maintenant 20 ans. Et c'est un projet de coopération politique en fait, qui fait que, initialement, la volonté, puisqu'on parle de gouvernance aujourd'hui, c'était de dire comment nos territoires peuvent mieux coopérer ensemble. Et donc la première chose que les régions ont faite, c'est essayer de comprendre les écosystèmes, leur mode de fonctionnement, leurs compétences pour pouvoir coopérer. Donc, sans parler d'aller sur des programmes européens de manière conjointe. Donc, le premier travail pour qu'une gouvernance fonctionne et qu'on puisse aller sur des programmes européens, c'est de se connaître, c'est que les agences, les départements de nos 3 régions puissent mettre en place, je dirais, des appels à projets pour que les acteurs, on a parlé, tu as parlé de la quadruple helix, avec les centres de recherche, les entreprises, les collectivités, puissent apprendre à se connaître et à coopérer. Donc ça, c'est la première étape, ça prend beaucoup de temps. La coopération vient toujours dans la vie d'une entreprise ou d'un centre de recherche après. On essaye d'abord de développer des projets et on essaye souvent, dans un deuxième temps, de voir avec qui on peut les partager. Donc ça a été ce premier travail assez long, qui permet aussi de monter en compétence les centres de recherche, les entreprises et nos acteurs des écosystèmes. Et tu l'as dit, nos territoires sont à la croisée de chemin au niveau européen, puisque nous sommes sur la rive nord-ouest de la Méditerranée, sur des programmes européens sur lesquels nos acteurs peuvent prétendre. Et donc le positionnement de l'Eurorégion, ça a été de dire comment on peut vous aider à vous positionner, à avoir une valeur ajoutée pour que vos projets puissent être retenus, ou en tout cas avoir une valeur ajoutée tant pour votre je dirais, entreprise ou collectivité ou centre de recherche, mais aussi pour le territoire. Et c'est là qu'on a identifié, grâce à une stratégie, une feuille de route à 20 ans, quelles étaient les thématiques sur lesquelles on pouvait aller ensemble sur des projets avec des acteurs du terrain. Et donc on est allé sur tous les programmes européens qui répondent aux 4 thématiques. On est allé sur tout ce qui est biodiversité, sur des lives, sur des interregs, bien sûr Med, avec les acteurs qu'on avait identifiés, soit en partenaire, soit en cofinanceur, soit en chef de file. Et ça nous a permis d'être reconnus par les programmes européens. C'est un grand combat de l'Eurorégion. Nous sommes nous-mêmes, à travers notre statut GECT, un territoire de coopération. Donc on s'est présenté sur des programmes ou à côté ou ensemble d'acteurs sur les questions de biodiversité. On l'a fait sur les questions d'économie bleue avec les ports, donc plus sur le côté méditerranéen. Nous sommes une région méditerranéenne, mais on a aussi un regard atlantique, puisqu'une partie de notre territoire est sur le bassin atlantique. Donc on va aussi sur des interregs sud-ouest. Oriol a parlé aussi de la nécessité d'une valeur ajoutée pour aller sur les programmes. Et donc on va aussi sur les programmes où on sait que seuls les acteurs auront peut-être moins de possibilité d'être retenu. Et inversement, nous, on ne pourrait pas y aller. Exemple, Interreg Europe ou Interreg Horizon Europe, pardon, sur les questions d'innovation. Où là, on est allé récemment sur un appel à projet, sur un I3, hein, c'est un investissement sur interrégional sur l'agroalimentaire et sur les questions d'économie circulaire. Et nous nous positionnons, bien sûr, sur tous les programmes, je dirais, principalement Interreg, mais on aimerait. Et donc, je sais que ce matin, on a parlé du Next Med, essayer aussi de tourner le regard vers le sud de la Méditerranée, ça serait la prochaine étape. Donc on va par étapes, la gouvernance ne peut marcher que si on a l'écosystème préparé, si l'Eurorégion et les politiques de nos 3 régions, en l'occurrence, ont la capacité d'y aller, donc les compétences partagées, et enfin si l'Europe nous connaît. Donc c'est là aussi l'importance des alliances. Seule l'Eurorégion n'est pas grand-chose au niveau européen. C'est pour ça la MedCoopAlliance, c'est pour ça aujourd'hui MedCat Days. Il faut qu'on nous connaisse depuis Bruxelles, depuis les différents programmes, donc ça aussi c'est un mot-clé. L'alliance permet aussi de faire reconnaître nos territoires et nos écosystèmes respectifs.
Okay, thank you, Xavier. Thank you for this. I would take on your last point about the alliances, indeed, and your concept of ecosystem, because I mean you were mentioning the environmental project you were dealing with. So ecosystem also is a word that resonates with the environmental value, but you can have also an ecosystem of actors, an ecosystem of regions, an ecosystem of whatever you like. So I like this keyword because ecosystem, in the end, the Mediterranean is a bit composed of lots of ecosystems that we want to be able to manage, and we see evolve alongside one each other. And the challenge is to make sure that they don't contradict each other, or they don't come at odds with one another. So then comes the alliances, no? The keyword alliances, to be able to improve a bit the governance of these ecosystems and make sure that they are more permeable to one another, to make sure that they evolve towards the right direction and not in contradiction to one another. I will move then to our next speaker. So thank you, Xavier, for these keywords and for this perspective. Our next speaker is Alícia Pérez-Porro, who is the scientific coordinator from the Centre for Ecological Research and Forestry Applications, the CREAF. So Alícia, a bit of the same questions, really. What kind of programs or type of project you are currently working on, and what do they mean in terms of governance, innovative governance for your organization?
Thank you, Elodie. I think that I'm going to use this one, so I'm going to put this on the floor. So I was planning on saying a lot of things that I have here, and also speaking English, but I'm going to switch because I'm not going to say any of this after hearing to my colleagues, so I'm switching to Catalan. Primer em sumo als agraïments als organitzadors i després intentaré ser breu perquè em sembla que anem malament de temps. Molt interessant tot el que s'ha estat dient en aquestes jornades, però concretament en aquesta taula, em sumo a tot el que ha dit el Sergio del Beta. Com a centre de recerca, nosaltres des del CREAF no hem creat una àrea de governança, però el que hem fet és ficar l'impacte de la recerca cap a la societat com un dels pilars del nostre pla estratègic. Això, hem arribat a aquesta conclusió per les mateixes raons que el Sergio ja ha exposat. Nosaltres, com a centre de recerca, i a més centre de recerca públic, doncs tenim uns deures a fer, tenim unes responsabilitats, que és fer arribar aquesta recerca a on es necessiti. I això ho lligo amb una cosa que ha dit l'Oriol, que és que tu, Oriol, has dit que no només estem aquí produint coneixement per després anar a vendre el peix, a veure si algú ens el compra, sinó que ha d'haver-hi un diàleg amb l'altra contrapart. Jo sempre dic que es parla molt del science to policy i es parla poc del policy to science, perquè realment es necessita saber quins són aquells gaps de coneixement i també és el nostre deure produir aquell coneixement per omplir aquells gaps que poden arribar a tenir les polítiques públiques. Llavors, nosaltres som un centre de recerca que fem ecologia i llavors pot ser un peix difícil de vendre en segons quines circumstàncies. Però des del començament vam néixer com un centre de recerca híbrid on també treballem la transferència. Però ens trobàvem, i això ho parlàvem abans amb l'Oriol, abans de començar, mentre ens posaven al micro, que anàvem parlant de que bé que els centres de recerca heu arribat en aquestes xarxes, en aquestes aliances, i jo li deia sí, però ens ha costat molt i ens està costant molt, perquè els centres de recerca normalment tenen investigadors i investigadores que no estan formades per fer aquesta feina. I llavors parlàvem també dels perfils generalistes i de la necessitat de tenir gent treballant als centres de recerca que no faci recerca i no faci gestió de la recerca, però que tingui una formació en economia, en el meu cas en diplomàcia i relacions internacionals, en transferència de coneixement, per poder tenir perfils que puguin fer aquesta de cadeneta per fer aquest trasbassament del coneixement cap a on es necessita, però també que puguin transmetre on es necessita el coneixement que es necessita produir. Jo crec que l'Anna Bernades ahir, la secretària d'Acció Climàtica, pels que no estàveu ahir, a mi em va agradar molt tot el que va dir, perquè va dir que la governança ambiental ha de tenir 3 ingredients principals, que són la transparència, la consciència i la ciència, i que les polítiques públiques han d'estar informades per la ciència. I llavors, que els centres de recerca haguem arribat fins aquí i espero que s'assumin més, doncs és essencial per poder redefinir aquesta governança tenint multinivell i multi-stakeholder de la que hem estat parlant i poder arribar on hem d'arribar, que en el nostre cas per les temàtiques que toquem del canvi climàtic i la pèrdua de biodiversitat és a fer front a aquests reptes globals. Llavors, quan nosaltres vam començar tot aquest camí a dins del CREAF i vam contractar totes aquestes figures més intermitges, més potser generalistes, ens vam marcar com un objectiu la Mediterrània. Llavors jo us he posat una slide que veureu que té un QR, perquè nosaltres, aquest QR és un portfoli de la Mediterrània que nosaltres vam fer. Perquè el que ens vam trobar com a centre de recerca és que teníem molts investigadors i investigadores que treballaven des de feia molts anys a la Mediterrània, que pertanyien a xarxes, que ja estaven en contacte amb governs locals o governs regionals, però no hi havia res a nivell institucional. I llavors això va ser el gran repte del CREAF, organitzar tot això perquè tots els contactes i tota aquesta feina es fes a nivell institucional i que hi hagués una part de l'estructura del CREAF que mantingués això per descarregar els investigadors i les investigadores i que no ho haguessin de fer ells i elles. Llavors, el que ens vam fixar, vam començar una cosa que nosaltres li diem el MedCreaf, que és com una estratègia en el fons. I aquesta estratègia té 3 ingredients principals, que són, evidentment, science to science. Fer xarxa amb altres centres de recerca de temàtiques o similars o complementàries a la Mediterrània. L'altre ingredient és el science to policy, del que parlava abans, amb aquest component també de policy to science, de no només nosaltres posar-nos al servei de les administracions públiques, sinó que les administracions públiques trobessin aquest canal directe per transmetre'ns aquelles necessitats que nosaltres potser els podem arribar a cobrir. I l'última és el science to business, perquè com a centre en ecologia, nosaltres no estàvem acostumats a parlar amb el sector privat. I, Oriol, tu també ho has dit, ens agradaria veure'l més, el sector privat implicat en aquestes converses i aquestes aliances de governança. Llavors, això, evidentment, és un camí sense fi. Esperem continuar construint amb tots i totes vosaltres. I la idea final sempre és l'impacte de la recerca cap a la societat i poder arribar a fer front a aquests reptes comuns també de manera comuna i compartida.
Thank you so much, Alicia, for this insight. And in the end, you went off your notes, but I think it was very great. So thank you for this. And I got from it especially the kind of dichotomy that you bring forward, between science policy, but also policy science. So we usually use the science to feed the policy, but how does the science uses the policy to feed itself and gives itself an agenda? And to be able to investigate on the priorities. It makes me think a bit about, I'm playing a bit devil's advocate most probably, but about the sensitive information. Sometimes it's also hard to work with the scientific community because of this, because of the protection of data, because of all the secret, I'd like to say, behind investigation, behind research. And this maybe can be, something that we could reflect on. How can it serve? How can we just go around this so that it can serve the public policy or the public in general? And how then, from the policy, we can go find the science to make sure that we don't have then we pay for a service and then we also have to pay for the results, because there's a lot of money behind it, and there's a lot of data protection and patent law and so on and so forth. So that's, I think, it's what makes it sometimes a bit harder for maybe the academia or the research center to enter into the network dynamic because of this. And I'm talking also from experience from the different projects that we've had in the past. Depending on the partners, sometimes some of the results could be delayed because of the patenting, or because of the secret linked to it, and the partner itself strategy to be able to publish this at a specific moment, strategical for them. So all in all, it makes it a bit harder. But of course, as you say, it's unavoidable. We need to work together, and this goes back to what the other speakers were also saying about integrating and building alliances between different scales of governance, whether it be horizontal across the sectors, the different public area, the academia, the citizens, the environmental also pillar, I would like to say, but also vertically across the very local areas up to the national, the EU ones, and so on. So that's my feedback. Thank you for this, Alicia. And that brings me to our next speaker, Alessandro Miraglia. Alessandro, good to see you again. Last time was, I think, in Marseille when we were stuck at the airport. So we had a lot of time to discuss together. But here we are again in a more friendly setting than the airport. So you are the team leader for networking and the communication facility at MedWaves, which I think is the regional activity center for consumption and sustainable consumption and production, also here in Barcelona. So Alessandro, could you tell us a bit more about your perspective regarding the innovative governance schemes, the kinds of program and project you're involved in? I know that we are also, as CPM, are partners with MedWaves over different projects. So how does this serve the integration of programs, of projects, and eventually of the feedback we can give to the policies?
Perfect. Thank you very much, Elodie. Thank you very much to the Departament, the Affairs Exterior, and IEMed for the kind invitation. I think that actually we have to start also acknowledging and considering the changing landscape of the programming cycle that donors are setting out. InterRegMed is an example. We have longer strategic cycle. Those are underpinned also by more solid theory of changes, and this is actually for us a precondition to enable innovation, and specifically green innovation, which is actually our strong thematic approach. I think this more system-based approach has unlocked our impact potential over the last 10 years. We started actually advocating for a number of issues related to SCP, to circular economy and so on. Now we are moving and we are shifting to networking and cooperative or cooperation models within across different programs. We shifted also from standalone demonstration action. We were actually piloting year after year small scale projects in different countries. Now actually we are talking about mainstreaming SCP and circular economy within and again across a different and wide number of programs, mainly funded by UN and the European Union. And I think that we have managed to shape our, let's say, role to connect supranational governance schemes, such as, for instance, the Barcelona Convention for the Protection of the Mediterranean, to which we belong, to territories, to concrete actions, and to concrete policies as well. And of course, we are learning in this process. We are learning because we started thinking of networks and networking actions, but mainly networks as a number of linear webs of relation that, let's say, unlock the possibility for information to freely flow among these linear webs, as said. But I believe that the reality suggests that actors have very different endowments, and of course information and knowledge often come with a price, and those are exchanged in a very unlinear way, I would say. So alliances needs to envisage this complexity. What are the real levers to bring actors together toward a specific, let's say, objective and impact? And of course, as our role and mandate is very much mission focused, we are the SCP Regional Activity Center of the UNEMAP. We are attempting to integrate our vision, let's say, and our knowledge, what we have produced so far, in what are the existing networks as well. And we have devised, let's say, as a practical example, mainly 3 different processes, or we have identified 3 different levers. The first one are the capitalization projects. We have seen already the Reset project that has been presented by our colleague Bahia, funded by ENI CVC-Med. It's a capitalization project where we are looking to what are the different business ecosystem, let's say, levers which are capable of producing a number of alternative business model that can take up the challenges, let's say, of sustainability. Another one is the IEMed Island. It's a project funded by the Alberto de Monaco Foundation, which is also capitalizing on 23 different actions preventing plastic pollution in small island in the Mediterranean. The second dimension is dissemination and exploitation. Is where we are more active, specifically in the field of Horizon and H2020 projects. The Blue Mission Med, we were also partnering with a number of different organizations, is an example. It's where we actually bring, let's say, this network to life, and we try to, of course, capitalize on the information and the knowledge that is being produced, and also bring together this southern and northern Med dimension in the discussion to understand which are, of course, the let's say the wins and lose of the ecological transition process as we talk at Mediterranean level. And the third dimension are these multi-stakeholder platforms. So InterrECMed is the perfect fit, let's say, for this kind of dimension we are working on. Actually, thanks also to the Generalitat and, of course, to Beta, we are part of both Dialogue for Innovation and Community for Innovation project at InterrECMed level. What we are trying to do is actually to offer our stage, so the UNEMAP Secretariat and the Barcelona Convention, and of course what we have been doing over these last years in order to, of course, on the community side, try to bring new actors, fresher actors to the discussion, and on the Dialogue for Innovation side, of course, offer also a pathway to get to new stakeholders, policymakers, and decision makers. To conclude, we understand, let's say, these alliance processes, and of course our role, and now we grow, let's say we grew actually over these past 10 years by empowering private and public stakeholders, which has been an example in this, a 10 years framework program funded by the European Union with more than 40 million euro, where we brought actually together the public and private stakeholders to talk about transition, ecological transition, circular economy transition in the Mediterranean, promoting dialogue, and of course also including the private sector and CSOs to democratize a bit the governance process in the Mediterranean region, but also increase, let's say, opportunity for multi-scalar governance tool, beyond, let's say, multi-level governance, in a way, let's say, to support new decision-making mechanisms and also redistributing these endowments that, again, are not always obvious within this networking or cooperative frameworks. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Thank you so much. Alessandro, for your dense contribution. So I tried to keep up. Of course, I will come back to the three main points you were mentioning about the capitalization aspects of projects, the dissemination and exploitation, and the multi-stakeholder platforms. I think it summarizes very well what we've been discussing in the previous, with the previous speakers. Capitalization project to be able to extract what's been done by the project, to reuse the information, not just to keep the project on the shelf and then it just goes to sleep and forgotten forever. Try to reuse the information, and in the end, when we reuse information, we also reuse, well, all the effort and the money that has been invested in it before. So that comes full circle in a way. And when we use it to feedback onto policy making or even private strategies, it's also come full circle. The dissemination and exploitation, obviously, it comes back a bit also to what we were saying with Oriol, trying to raise awareness, I would say, about what the project is doing, what the program is doing, but also give visibility to the beneficiaries, the end users that might not necessarily be aware of it. And lastly, the multi-stakeholder platforms. It goes back to the communities, to the alliances that we're trying to keep up with, to build. I mean, talking about the Blue Mission Med project, which is for those who do not know the name of the project itself, is the Mediterranean Lighthouse. That's part of the Horizon mission. So its aim is to build the communities around the plastic, especially plastic contamination of the Mediterranean, and to see how we can work together to be able to tackle this through different projects in the future. And so by bringing together these communities, we try to, well, have the regions on the one hand, but also the academia, also more technical partners on the others that are experts of the matter, to make sure that we don't miss any part of the ecosystem of actors, and that we cover to the best possible extent the whole of the Mediterranean, because as we say in the instance of plastic, it doesn't stop at borders. So we need to work together for that. But that's one example among many of them, and this is why in this session the word alliances is key, and what we try to maintain over the cooperation project. Which brings me to my last but not the least speaker, Andrea Di Girolamo, who represents today the Adriatic-Ionian Euro-Region Technical Secretariat. So, Andrea, you represent also a very specific geographical area over the Adriatic-Ionian space, geographical space. So could you tell us a bit more about your work in cooperation, but also maybe about the general governance of this area, because we know that there's a macro region that exists over the Adriatic-Ionian area, which is the USAIR. It has a specific program also that helps support the implementation of the strategy of the macro region. So how do you interact in this ecosystem, and well, what's your take from this? What conclusion do you get from this?
Yeah, thank you, Elodie. Yeah, as you said, I work for Adriatic-Ionian Euro-Region, which is an association of 33...
Just 1 second, Andrea, I think we can't hear you.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, as I said, I work for Adriatic-Ionian Euro-Region, which is an association that gathered 33 regional local authorities of the Adriatic-Ionian area. We have members from Italy, Croatia, Greece, Albania, Montenegro, and Bosnia-Herzegovina. As an association, we act in a very specific geographical area, as you said, and all our territories benefits of USR macro-regional strategy. And of course, our territory, they have the assistance of different territorial cooperation programs. The big one is Adrian, but we have several cross-border projects that in some way support also the goals of the strategy. So pretty much we operate in a very complex cooperation framework because there are different initiatives, different programs, and all these initiatives and programs are basically designed to tackle sometimes common challenges. So for instance, European strategy for the EU strategy for macro-regional issues has a really complex architecture, I mean, because there are member states in the governing board of all countries. They have thematic working groups per pillar of the strategy. There is an user facility points financed by Adrian program that assist the implementation of the strategy. The strategy is now in, let's say, it's in a revision stage, because now the member states are probably will launch another pillar of the strategies. So we expect to have another topics focused by that strategy. In the same area, as I said, insists a lot of European territorial cooperation program. The big one is Adrian, that sometimes finance a project related with the topic of the strategy. So meaning that the entities that would like to participate in this program have to have very clearly in mind which are the goals of the strategy. Then another complexity is that we work with, talking about the macro-regional strategy, with the 5 IPA countries, meaning that the strategy needs to support, help those countries in the European integration process. Another complexity is given to the fact that we have a complex fragmentation and variety of funds in our cooperation areas. Meaning that, for instance, macro-regional strategy, the European Union said there are the famous 3 rules, so no funds, no extra funds to finance the macro-regional strategy. This means that member states, regional local authorities, all the stakeholders, all the platform have to use the national and the European funds to finance the strategy. And this is very complex to put on the ground, because sometimes, for instance, European structural funds are created for regional development, for finance regional projects. So sometimes it's very difficult to use these funds to create transnational projects. This is very complex, but of course, national level and the bodies of the strategies, the stakeholders of the strategy, try to find some interaction and coordination mechanism, as you said. For instance, USR has now a stakeholder online platform, which is a physical space where stakeholders of the strategy can exchange ideas, find joint solution, create projects, whatever. The strategy creates working groups per pillar, as I said before, so member state and sometimes region participate in these working groups. They finance flagship projects, so the member states create these flagship projects in coordination with all member states. Also, as I said, Adrian program finance project related with the strategy, and they create also thematic cluster projects, so a sort of capitalization to capitalize the experience of Interreg projects, to put together different projects, working together. Let's say the same done by Interreg Med, for instance, in the previous programming periods. What about my organization? We try to work with the Interreg projects. We promote among our members the possibility to participate in these European territorial cooperation programs. We work with the other organizations, other networks, and MedCoopAlliance is one of these experiences that we share with CPMR, MedCity, the other Euro region that we have here. Because another idea is to, our ambition is also to promote a macro-regional strategy in the Mediterranean area. And for instance, my president, which is also a member of the Committee of the Region, has recently prepared an opinion in the Committee of the Region, which the title of the opinion is Towards Mediterranean Macro Region, so it was approved. And this is another activity that my association would like to support in the future, now and the future. And another idea that we have, we shared another projects, initiatives with CPMR and the other network that exists in the Adriatic-Jònica area. We create this project called INUREC Plus. As association, we work in particular to the constitution of an association of youth organization in the Adriatic-Jònica area, and we support also an internship program among these young people and young organization. In conclusion, let's say that macro-regional strategy are a powerful tool to support economic and social territorial development in EU and non-EU countries. But must be reinforced and require multi-actors involvement. And also coordination mechanism to don't waste all the efforts that we put in this engagement.
Thank you, Andrea. So that was very dense as well, but you went over different kinds of concepts. From your intervention, we understand, of course, that the strategy, so that has been forged by the states or the countries around this geographical area, has indeed a program also that serves it into its implementation. And I have the feeling that they retrofit each other, because also from the results of the project, we then update the strategy's action plan, which I think was going on in May, right? I'm not sure about the deadline for the last draft, but it's undergoing. So that's a useful tool, and that's a useful information for us to have to understand how what we've been saying with the former speakers, how we can articulate all the alliances, all the territorial stakeholders with the different levels of governance at the different stakeholders coming from the private sector, but also from the public area, from the academia, from the citizens, and so on, how we can articulate these ecosystems together. You were mentioning the famous, or maybe infamous, 3-no rule. I'm not sure at this point it's still very famous, but I just wanted to come back to this because Alessandro also mentioned the changing landscape. And so I would just like to bring forward that the 3-no rule is very efficient in a specific context, but of course it was created in a given context, and now the context is different, so we might give it some thought in the future to see whether it's still as relevant as it was when it was first agreed. So that's a parenthesis for the 3-no rule. And well, you mentioned in your concluding parts, the interaction and cooperation mechanism. I think it's something also that has been or is being built across different programs from a meeting they had in May between Interreg EuroMed, between NextMed and the Maritimo program. And probably others.
The coordination mechanism among programs, yes.
This is also a novelty, and it's something we've been pushing for. I think from the project partners in general to build synergies between the programs because they cover sometimes the same geographical area or part of the same geographical area, and they have different ways of working. So it could be confusing also as project partners. So it's good that they have this, and we're very, at least I talk on behalf of CPMR, but we're very happy about this. So let's see how it goes in the future. And lastly, you mentioned. Well, INUREC, the INUREC project, I think what's important about INUREC is that it's a project that works with the academia, the regions, and the chambers of commerce. So it covers the different kinds of stakeholders we're trying to target. And this is a very good practice that hopefully we'll be able to replicate also and scale up across the Mediterranean. So that's a very good component of the project. And lastly, of course, the elephant in the room, the Mediterranean macro region, the macro elephant, I should say, in the room. So your intervention about the USER and Adrian is a very good pilot example, I would say. that maybe we could think of scaling up in the Mediterranean. Of course, it's much more complex because the non-EU territories are much more numerous than the IPA countries covering your area. But it's not less relevant for all that. And we've understood through the different speakers that some of you are covering non-EU countries, geographical areas, some of you don't. But all in all, we understand that the Mediterranean in itself, as a broad geographical area, needs to have this collaboration, these alliances between the different projects, between the different territorial representatives. And if we want to bring some coherence to this across the programs, but also be the glue between the different initiatives and the programs, we need maybe to have a broader, overarching strategy. So I will leave it here, because we begin with a bit of delay, but I think we are between the lunch now, and I don't want you to hate us for this. So thank you for your contributions. I hope it will give you some food for thoughts in your next cooperation experiences. And, well, we have the concluding words from Anna Dottor, I think, and a representative also of the Mediterranean Youth Council that are around in the room. So I'll leave you the floor. Thank you so much.
Bona tarda. Bona tarda. Seré molt breu perquè realment les conclusions d'aquests MedCat Days les faran els joves. Durant aquests 2 dies ha tingut lloc la trobada de joves de la Mediterrània i un grup de joves han estat treballant, discutint, reflexionant sobre diferents temàtiques i han preparat unes conclusions i, per tant, ara, que és el moment de les conclusions i que, per tant, és el moment que toca pensar en els propers passos, toca pensar en quins deures ens posem de cara al futur, doncs què millor que donar la paraula als joves i que ells mateixos tinguin una veu en com hem de caminar cap a aquest futur que els interpel·la amb ells de manera molt especial. Per tant, jo simplement faré uns agraïments a totes les persones que han fet possible aquests MedCat Days, aquesta tercera edició dels MedCat Days que ja realment ens consolida com aquest espai de trobada de tots els actors de la Mediterrània de Catalunya. I, per tant, en primer lloc, agraïment a l'IEMed, evidentment, amb qui hem coorganitzat aquest esdeveniment i que sense ells no podria ser possible. Igualment al Departament d'Economia i d'Hisenda, la MedCoopAlliance, tots els participants, tots els assistents, els moderadors, especialment tots aquells que heu vingut de lluny i que heu fet l'esforç i que, per tant, us ho agraïm especialment, als intèrprets, que avui i ahir també els vam donar bastanta feina, i, evidentment, com no podia ser d'altra manera, a tot l'equip del Departament d'Exteriors, especialment a tot el servei de xarxes i Mediterrani, que han treballat molt intensament, han treballat molt bé durant molt temps i avui jo crec que avui s'ha notat, s'han vist els resultats, estem molt satisfets i, per tant, aquest agraïment especial a l'equip. I ja sense més, dono la paraula als joves. Parlaran en representació seva Inés Tamur, vicepresidenta del Mediterranean Youth Council, i Francesc Almendros, president de l'Assemblea de la Joventut de l'Euroregió. Per tant, endavant.
Cooperation. Cooperation is so crucial for our future. And that's why we are here. As young, we are gathered today with you to cooperate. First of all, I would like to thank everyone here, the European Institute of the Mediterranean, Catalonia government, CPMR, and the TED Delart for extending this invitation to us and for hosting this event. Here we are 2 different youth organizations and associations working together. I'm the clear example representing the youth organizations of Catalonia as president of the Euro-region, Pirineus Mediterrània, where we work in different commissions as sustainability, inclusion, mobility, cultural heritage, and so on. And also we have here the Mediterranean Youth Council that works.
We, as Mediterranean Youth Council, we're an initiative that gathers 40 youth coming from 14 different countries from the Mediterranean. We are used to make advocacy and carrying out actions in the framework of the MedAction Festival to raise youth voice and make an impact and change in the Mediterranean. As representatives of youth, we carry the hopes, the spirit, enlightenment, enthusiasm, and vision necessary to drive positive change and confront the challenges of our time. Since the onset of the pandemic, numerous challenges have emerged, particularly in the realm of mental health. Students have found themselves confined at home, facing limited access to the internet, resulting in problems within our educational system. This, in turn, has impacted the quality of courses provided, contributing to disparities in economic growth. And these disparities have reverberated in areas such as employability and housing accessibility.
Economic inequality, political instability, environmental degradation, and social tension are among the pressing issues that affect our region. In addressing this challenge, the role of youth cannot be overstated. This is especially true for people, individuals embarking new journeys as migrants, where adaptability is crucial for navigating the complex of this modern world. By harnessing our passion, ideas, and creativity, we can foster innovation, drive sustainability development, and promote peace and understanding across Mediterranean. Moreover, our aim is to contribute to shaping policies advocating for our rights and challenging the status quo, ultimately leading to a more equitable Mediterranean.
Thus, the empowerment and participation of youth are indispensable for building inclusive societies, promoting social justice, and ensuring the defense of our rights. By involving young people in decision-making processes, we can guarantee that our voices are heard and our rights are upheld. Moving on to the topics discussed over the past 2 days, we firmly believe that global warming, climate change, gender equity, inclusion, and social justice must be at the forefront of concerns for the entire Euro-Mediterranean region. It is imperative that we cooperate in undertaking projects to address these pressing issues with utmost urgency.
With this in mind, we are determined to take concrete actions, concrete steps that will yield to tangible results. Within the framework of the MedCat initiative, we, as youth, have worked on 2 specific projects to confront the aforementioned challenges.
Regarding the gender issues, we've already worked on concrete action last week in Florence, Italy, at the Political Bureau of CPMR. And now, this proposal is developed with Catalonian youth because we consider that gender issues is a cross-cutting topic that should be present everywhere. We have focused on addressing gender equity in the Mediterranean region by training, empowering, small-scale content creators, and their public. The plan involves a 14-day training program for content creators aged from 18 to 30, focusing on gender equity topics, communication techniques, and social media strategies. A platform will be created to provide resources, information about laws, a reporting system, and a chat for the content creators, with the launch of one-year communication campaign on their own social media platforms, sharing videos, podcasts, and other content. Where the purpose is to raise awareness on the new risks and gender on social media faced by youth, especially girls, as harassment, revenge porn, catfishing, and human exploitation. The project will be managed by project coordinators who will oversee the community of the platform, partnerships, and monitoring and evaluation efforts.
Now, turning our attention to environmental matters, we created the Turning Tides Academy. Do you know what's the Turning Tides Academy? The Turning Tides Academy is a project under the Erasmus K plus A1 Action Mobility and Youth Program that aims to address the lack of awareness about plastic marine litter and the proper ways of collecting, sorting, reusing, and disposing of it. A consortium of partners from the Mediterranean countries will collaborate to engage young people from elementary and middle school from these territories in environmental protection and capacity building activities and the promotion of environmental responsibility through non-formal education and artistic expressions. The context came from the alarming amount of plastic marine litter accumulating in the Mediterranean Sea and on its shorelines, which possess an existential threat to marine and human life. Despite the current efforts to promote awareness about plastic marine litter, there is still lack of understanding about the behaviors that we, as humans, are still unable to let go of, and which cause increasingly higher level of plastic marine litters and eventually increasing the harm that we are doing to ourselves. Finally, there is a need for greater cooperation and solidarity on environmental issues between the Mediterranean countries. We have different needs to be addressed, like address the increasing amount of plastic marine litter on shorelines in Mare Nostrum, which threatens marine life and leads to more disease. We have more mitigation action and needs. We have to improve plastic marine litter awareness with this project and understanding the behaviors that have severe damaging impact on environmental lives. And also, we foster social inclusion and solidarity among Mediterranean countries in implementing policies and activities to protect our shared Mediterranean base. But also, we don't have only to mitigate, we have also to have adaptation to this. We have to participate in Let's Clean Up activities, how to reuse them, and basically adapt our society.
In conclusion, we are ready to take action. For profound and effective change, our Mediterranean region requires our engagement, involvement, investment, and most importantly, collaboration among youth, regions, and institutions. Together, we can forge a brighter future for all.
And today, and this event have been the clear example how youth work. And this cannot be the ending of this cooperation. We want all the commitment of all of us to keep creating these sustainable projects for the future and increase the cooperation between the regions in the Mediterranean. Thank you so much.